Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the last regular group stage match of Super Rugby Pacific that we are covering, and this one is a big one. It's Hurricanes taking on Moana Pasifika. And now, after the Blues have got themselves to win over the Waratahs, it means that one thing and one thing only can get Moana Pasifika through to the next stage of this competition, and that is a bonus point victory. Now, that's going to be tough to do. The Hurricanes, the last time that these two sides played, it was the narrow victory for Moana Pasifika. But in this case, for the bonus point, it is not scoring 4 tries like it is in some other competitions. It is 3 or more tries than your opposition. So that is a pretty tough ask. A side that last week conceded over 80 points. It's not impossible, but it's unlikely. Do tell your players what they need to do. Do you tell your players what they need to do, says Kiwi Rob? I think you have to. You can't just go into this game expecting a win for Moana Pasifika in terms of a narrow margin. They know that they have to win this game and they need to win it big, or else they will go home. Now, the thing is, I would rather see Moana throwing absolute caution to the wind, and once again, not losing by the same margin as they did up against the Chiefs, but I would rather see them trying things and having them fail than not trying them at all. Yes, winning the game's important, but you can't get through to the finals just with the win. You need the bonus point in there as well. This should be a good test to see where the Canes are, says Sal. And that's the thing, the Hurricanes have been a little bit of a quiet workhorse of the season. They've slowly been building and peaking at the right time, a little bit similar to what we could say maybe about the Blues after that last game up against the Tars. But looking through at the Hurricanes starting lineup, it is Xavier Numia, Jacob Devery and Tyrell Lomax as the front row. Zach Gallagher alongside Hugo Plummer with Devon Flanders, Duplessis Karifi and Peter Lakai slotting in. As a number 8 in the back line, it is Cam Roygard alongside Brett Cameron in the 19 combination. Peter Umanga Jensen returns from his injury, and Billy Proctor on his outside at 13. Fihi Whinia Norfo, the 7 superstar, out on one wing. Balin Sullivan out on the other, and Ruben Love back to number 15. He's been playing quite a bit of 10 as of late, but with the return of Cameron, it means that we see a reshuffle in this Hurricanes backline, and you wonder, will that take a little bit of time to adjust? And if that's the case, then that's when Moana have to really try and strike their starting lineup for this match. It is going to be Tui Pelotu, Sana Revi, and also Ta'ua Fau, or Ta'ua in the front row. Tom Savage and Samuel Slade in the locking duo with Miracle Langi, Ari Savia, and Samisi Tupo Tailoa. Those 3 need a big game. They were a little bit missing in the last match up against the Chiefs in terms of that loose forward physicality, but this is the type of game now where you have to be front and centre, on show all the time, and try and get those crucial turnovers throughout the match. In the back line, it is Jonathan Tamatene alongside Patrick Pellegrini. Julian Savia moves into the midfield alongside Lalo Milo, and then Solomon Alai Malo, Kieran Tumapalau, and Tavira Offa as the number 15. I do have to say for this Moana side, since Havili's injury, it has hurt them a little bit. I do think that he was one of those bits of gel that kind of held the back line together. Ari Savia, though, charging out onto the field. He is fired up at the moment. He's just done the Ronaldo Sue. So he is trying to get the crowd behind him. And the thing is, even though he was up against the Hurricanes throughout the season, he was still getting slightly cheered by Hurricane supporter. Of course, that man has done a lot for this Canes side. Now he's trying to do the same, if not more, for Moana Pasifika. But he needs a big contest. But he doesn't just need a big game for himself. He needs a big game for his side. The Canes have this one in the bag. I predict a high-scoring game, 48 points to 32 to the Canes. Says Christopher DeVette. And we have got their time for action. Says Revan, let's go the Hurricanes. Says Nico in there. Tyrell Lomax, he will be the man to lead out this Hurricane side. Karifi close behind him. Proctor Flanders. All players who need some big moments. The Hurricanes, their form guide at the moment, looking pretty decent. Their last 3 games have all been wins. They had a bye in between there. But in his 100th game for Tyrell Lomax. And one thing that I do like about this Hurricane side here is they have gone with a strong side. Yes, they could have looked at this as a bit of a game where they could rotate a bit, give some guys a slight break, but we've also got to remember, we talked so much about what's on the line for Moana. If the Hurricanes win this game, they will be in the position where the Reds cannot catch them. They will finish 4th, and they will head to GIO Stadium to take on the Brumbies in the playoffs next week. Now, last time that they headed over to Canberra, they got themselves the win. If they were to lose and the Reds were able to get themselves the win, then they would be facing up against the Crusaders in Christchurch. Welcome to Savia's home tonight, like the Chiefs did, says Shane. And also, we have got Hurricanes came to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and they are all out of bubblegum, says Gerhard. And Moana 45 to the Hurricanes 12, says Samuelu. So in that case, that would mean Moana go ahead of the Blues in terms of those playoff games. And that would be quite the statement win if they were able to do just that. Angus Gardner going to be the referee in charge of this one alongside Glenn Newman as the TMO. Team in the 11th has said, hi Hamish again, welcome in. If you are doing extremely well, hope you're excited. It's this game just around the corner. Broken ankle during preseason, they have said, for Devin Flanders, but he's back now and he's rearing to go in this matchup. Julian Savia starts with brother Artie against former team Hurricanes, where they achieved one title and 283 appearances combined. That's a lot. We all know that the Hurricanes are going to win because Moana Pasifika are not that good. There's what's up, guys. The last time these two sides played, Moana won, though. So, yes, Moana's form lately hasn't been quite... Well, that's the thing. They had a really tough game up against the Chiefs where they did get beaten extremely badly. The week before that, they beat the Blues. And they have beaten 4 out of the 5 New Zealand sides throughout the season. So I definitely wouldn't underestimate them. They're one of those teams that when they fire, they're very hard to stop. But if they aren't firing, that's when you have to really capitalise. But the Hurricanes kicking this one off from left to right. And we are now underway. Hurricanes wearing, of course, that bright yellow Moana and the classic blue. And Blues aren't that good either, says Taiona. Why is Julian Savia betraying the Hurricanes? You do know he's been away from the Hurricanes for actually a really long time, right? Artie Savia, you could almost make the argument for because he only left them last year. But Julian's been out of the Hurricanes picture for a good 5+ years, hasn't he? That's going to be the early penalty going the way of Moana Pasifika. And it seems like every penalty that they win, they're trying to fire themselves up to that next level. They know that they need a massive win, but it is Samisi Tupo Tailoa was able to get that penalty. Okay, we'll be back. Going to get fish and chips for the kids and a box of VBs for me, says you're rough. And we have got there, oh right, says the What's Up Guys podcast. And Hurricanes got this one, says Colin. Now, going to be the line out from around the halfway line. I think last week was the best performance I've ever seen from the Chiefs up with there when they beat the Sharks in Super Rugby Final 2012. Yeah, the Chiefs were on another level last week. And yes, it was very easy to say negative things about Moana from that contest, but the Chiefs just looked absolutely insane throughout that game. But the line out is going to be won by Moana Pasifika. A little chip in behind from Julian to Artie, but instead it sits up on Lalomelo. There's quite a few ex-Hurricanes guys in this Moana Pasifika side, but the turnover for Peter Lakai in the breakdown does get the penalty. Can we see a plus 40 today? Yeah. I think that both of these sides will have the intent of going out there and scoring a lot of points. Moana, of course, needing to win this game by 3 or more tries. Or what won yesterday, URC. So the Glasgow Warriors managing to beat the Stormers 38-16 or somewhere around there, I believe it was. We have there Betray. He's playing for his people and his family. Says Aben, yeah, the way that he's taken the role of captain for Artie Savia and just really played with passion all throughout the season, played like a leader and helped these young guys for Moana. The ball went to touch again. Says, what's up, guys? Looks like another good sausage fest coming, says Jason. That one's gone into touch. Yeah, pretty much bouncing straight from the line out back into touch. And Jacob Devery, he'll get another crack at it. And sticking the tars work so well. Rugby Australia, says Xavier Brown in there. You're going to be one of 2 Aussie sides that actually miss out, unfortunately for them. So I guess Xavier, blue number 3 already having to go off the bill for an HIA. That is Faliti Sai Tau Ufuau. We'll have to make his way off for the HIA. But yeah, Xavier, for yourself, who are you backing now? Out of the Reds and the Brumbies, who do you think will finish higher? Remembering the Brumbies will have a home final next week, or home playoff, up against either the Hurricanes or the Brumbies. Up against the Reds. Or the Reds, who will have to face either the Brumbies or the Crusaders, both away from home. And when does South African team win the URC? Says Cats, now the opening season, the Stormers were actually the side that were able to do it. They've been in multiple finals of the URC. Cameron with the pass on the outside, good hands from Devery for a start anyway, till he did drop the ball afterwards. And the Reds, says Alan. What time are the Sharks playing, says Paul. New Zealand time 4:30, South African time 6:30 p.m. But we have scheduled all those streams on the channel. That's what I was frantically doing in between the live streams so that they are all there, so that you guys know exactly when those games are happening. But yeah, it's the third match of today for the quarterfinals. First one's Bulls Edinburgh, and then second's Leinster Scarlets. Brumbies a mile clear of the Reds. The top three teams of Super Rugby are so far ahead of anyone else. Says Xavier. And hey, Amish looking good today, says Brandon. Welcome in, mate. And go Moana, says Samuelu. But kick downfield from Tavita Offa right next to the sideline. That was close to Proctor putting his foot in touch when he did sling the pass across field. Brett Cameron looking for the 50-22, but back there to cover was Kieran Tumafalau. Kicking downfield again. Nicely taken by Brett Cameron inside of the 22. In fact, this time it is Ruben Love who will get the kick into touch. Did you make a prediction? Did I miss the videos? Says Katzenell, which prediction for? Like who was going to win those games or this one? However, there, thanks for your updates, Hamish. Says Alan, no worries at all. And go Moana, says Sean, and the Bulls will definitely win the URC this year. Kurt Cobain told me that much in a dream. Says Christopher Vet. And Moana Pasifika all the way, says Aloy. And at the moment, 4 minutes into this contest, 0-all between these two sides. Another line out coming for Sanarevi. Do you think Moana Pasifika making it? The thing is, if the Blues had just won up against the Waratahs, I'd say Moana have a much better chance. But the fact that to win this game, and they have to win it with 3 or more tries, knockouts in Super Rugby and URC, didn't do any sort of video on them. But yeah, the Super Rugby side of things, I think the top 3 should have a decent chance, although the Blues being in that top 6 is still a bit of a concern for the sides near the top, as they actually look pretty handy in their game up against the Tars today. Jonathan Tamatine going to be kicking that ball high. Again, taken just outside of the 22 by the Hurricanes. Ruben Love trying to find the gap. Interception thrown and picked up now by Solomon Alaimalo. Inside Portis Amesi. Tupo Taialoa. And that is the first try of the contest for Moana Pasifika. An absolutely awful pass from Ruben Love. And Tupo Taialoa gets try number 7 for him in this season. Yeah, taking it well under the high ball was Cameron. Then Ruben Love, the wide cutout pass attempted, and Solomon Alaimalo was waiting for it there perfectly. And then the big run from Samesi Tupo Taialoa to get himself the try. Bang, bang, says Demon. I think Moana can win. I just don't see a bonus point, says Mr. All In. And Moana, shoot him down, turn around. Come on, Moana, says Beach. And come on, the Hurricanes need to do better. And who won the Blues game, and what does that mean for the playoffs? At the moment, because the Blues were able to get themselves a bonus point win in that contest, Moana need to win this game with a bonus point to be able to go through. That kick has gone over. You're covering State of Origin this year. We didn't actually do the first game. I'll be honest, I completely forgot it was on until the next day when I realised that it had happened. But it'd be a bit weird to pick it up from match 2 and 3. But we'll see what happens. Maybe if it's 1-1, we'll do the decider, perhaps. And way to go, Moana Pasifika, says Aloy. And Proctor, don't let Rico steal your shine, bro. Lift, says Shane. But 7-0 for Moana Pasifika at the moment. Going up for it is Tom Savage, and well claimed as Balin Sullivan makes the tackle on him. Canes don't need this kind of play, says Gerhard. And yeah, we've got to remember, the Canes are trying to avoid a Crusaders matchup in Christchurch. They win this, they have to go to Australia to take on the Brumbies. The question is, who would they prefer at the moment? Both sides looking pretty even in their game last night. Kick downfield from Moana and beautifully taken under the high ball for Solomon Alaimalo. Bit of a counter ruck coming from the Canes, but they've lost their footing. So the ball comes out the back. No, Hurricanes managing to get in there and get the ball back. Now Duplessis Karefi has got men on the outside, but instead decides to take the contact. This is not fair. In what regard is it not fair, the What's Up podcast? CSA and NRL has become irrelevant? No. It's just the fact that I forgot it was on because I've been pretty busy. But nice trying to spin a story. You could be in the media with a comment like that. Now passed on the outside, Billy Proctor. Low tackle made on Ruben Love. Back across to the left-hand side, Jacob Devery. Tackle around the halfway line. If afterwards Moana make the playoffs, they bloody well deserve it, says Jason Little, chipping behind. Setting up awkwardly for Patrick Pellegrini, who's having a retreat, gives it off to Davida Offa, goes back to Pellegrini. Lalomilo tackled there by Fihi Finianofo, and the penalty goes the way of the Canes. Now we get to see the mindset Do they go for the win or do they go for the 7 pointers and try and really cement themselves up there? Do they want Moana Pasifika in the top 6? So Brett Cameron, they've decided they're kicking for the corner, honest. Says Sean. And we have got there, thanks for covering the game, Hamish Legend, as always, says Jay Lincoln. We have still got 3 more games coming later on tonight that we will be covering on the channel as well, including 3 of those quarterfinals in the URC. I've been watching too much Sky News. It seems that way, doesn't it? But no, it's more so I just, completely got my dates wrong. I thought that it was a little bit later that it was taking place, but I think I was looking at match 2 rather than match 1. Now getting ready to throw this ball in. Jacob Devery, nicely taken by the Hurricanes. Plus, we have had a copyright strike from the NRL before, so it was a bit risky heading into international rugby, which I think is also why it didn't go high up on the list. This is close. And they're over. Devery gets the try, and we've had 2 tries in the first 10 minutes. And kick it. Says Shane, they kicked it to the corner and managed to score. It is very nicely done. Try, says Gerhard. Jacob Devery scoring his 3rd try of the season, just getting that rolling ball going, and that is somewhere that the Hurricanes will definitely try and exploit throughout this matchup. Backlash from Moana today, maybe, says Ash. And Silly Sausage, haha, says Beach there, but a big celebration coming from Fihi Whinianofo after they managed to get over there. He was one of the men who got into that breakdown and tried to force the penalty turnover. Even better, just score, says Shane. Yeah, it just shows the mindset that the Hurricanes are coming into this game with. They want to make sure that, just like a few of the other teams this round, they make a statement. They let everyone know that they are real contenders. First Canes meat pie, says Nico. I really would like to see Canes fans taste defeat, says Gatsanel. I mean, to be fair, they tasted defeat last year in the semi-finals where they lost their number 1 seed and also got knocked out of the comp. So I feel like they've had a little bit of heartbreak in there. Now they're in that situation of trying to find their way back, and they've had their fair share of losses this year too. We have there just seen the try on Sky to Moana. Justin Marshall, commentator, very excited with all sorts of words, says Alan. So you think he secretly wants Moana to get in ahead of the Blues? To be fair, it was a great interception try for Moana Pasifika though. Patrick Pellegrini kicks it off short, and Solomon Alai Marlowe got it back onto the side of Moana for a second, but now the Canes take possession back. Cam Roigard goes across to Peter Larkai. And we have got there, did they score the conversion? They did indeed. So 7-all now between these 2 teams. And oh wait, the Hurricanes scored. Yep, rolling maul try. Jacob Devery getting his 3rd of the season. Peter Umunga Jensen carries that ball forward. Tom Savage, a little bit of a counter ruck there, and it's worked perfectly. Oh, Umunga Jensen, I think, played that on the ground a little bit. But it is still going to be on the side of Moana Pasifika. What's the score now? 7-all. At the moment, Patrick Pellegrini on the halfway line goes across to Julian Saar via the bus. Trying to get some steam rolling forward. Tom Savage pops it back to Pellegrini. Skip past to Chris Apua, who made his way on due to the early HIA of Feliti Saitau Ufuao. Now Artie Savi offloads to Pellegrini. A lot of meters being lost here for Moana. Back to only about 45 out from their line. Savia bumps off Roigard. Goes for the grubber in behind, but it sits up for Peter Larkai. Ball across. Just a little bit over the head of Brett Cameron, but he does manage to claim it. Now goes across to Proctor, who will sink the slipper into it straight down the middle of the field. Lalomilo. Taking it now on the halfway line. Charging forward for the Hurricanes. For Moana Pasifika, I should say. Come on, Moana, says Sean. And Osature and Moana Pasifika beat the Hurricanes and smashed the bus, says Shane. That's forward by a few meters. The Hurricanes chipping behind from Balin. Sullivan just doesn't sit up for him. And it's going to be picked up now by Samesi Tupo Taeloa, the last try scorer. This game's fast-paced in the early stages. I will sum up the difference in expectation when the Crusaders crashed last season. The call to axe the coach was deafening, yet when the Highlanders finished dead last, apparently it is acceptable. Says Jason. I think the slight problem that they've got is, like, the Highlanders, at the moment, with the amount of injuries that they had, I don't know whether or not a different coach would have done much better. Like, maybe he got 1 or 2 more extra wins under the belt, but, you know, losing Tangi Tau, losing John Anariki, like, there's such a big list of guys who were out at crucial moments of the season where the Highlanders just needed one big play to get in there. And coach is still being held up like a shining light. Funny that, says Jason. Yeah, but you got to remember, when Tony Brown was with him, he was also getting the axe thrown at him, yet now he's talked about as one of the better coaches in terms of what he's able to do for a side. So sometimes you just need time as a coach. Unfortunately, these days, people are too keen to sack a coach rather than looking at the players and going, what are they doing wrong, rather than the coach. But now, Roigard going back across to the right-hand side. Chance here for Xavier Numi, a nice sell of the dummy. I think he drew in about 3 Moana Pasifika players come on the Hurricanes. Here's Kiwi Rob there. Now back across to the right-hand side. Skip past Sullivan back on the inside. Devin Flanders, chip and chase. The big man returns for his first game of the season after an injury in pre-season, and does score the second try. However, the Highlanders really need a big bulldozing 6 or 8. They're lacking there, says the Sporting Kiwi. And anyone who supports Moana Pasifika, you are wrong, says this What's Up Guys podcast. What do you mean, like, they're wrong? As in, like, they're wrong for predicting Moana to win? Correct, Hamish. Any coach impotent against injuries, says Gerhard. Yeah, it can be one of the most brutal things, because the first couple games of the season for the Highlanders, look at what they were doing when they had Tangi Tau, who has extended his contract, so that is fantastic news. But again, they've lost Gilbert now, so that's going to be a bit of a gap that they have to try and fill. Who scored the try, Moana or the Canes? It was Devin Flanders of the Hurricanes who did manage to score. And Tony Brown came home, bro. You don't want to beat the ABs, says Shane. And second Kane, says Nico, and that one has gone over. And yeah, just nice inside ball from Balin Sullivan, then Devin Flanders. Let's do very nicely with that chip and chase. The thing is, we've seen a lot of kicks from loose forwards throughout the season, and a lot of them have actually been paying off. Who are you going for, says Sean H? I am pretty impartial for this one. I just want to see a good game of rugby, and so far we've had that throughout the first 15 minutes. It's always going to be an upwards battle for Moana. They have to score the next 4 tries to be in a position of a bonus point. Rugby isn't about wrong or right. It's about what feels right and the sounds of bones cracking. CA to Morgan is no longer wanted at Ulster. Highlanders should pounce, says the Sporting Kiwi. Feel like the Chiefs are the number 1 team in the country, says the What's Up Guys podcast. And there as well, Roigard rolling this one back to kick it off as left peg. Yep, taken at the back for Tavita Offa. Now Patrick Pellegrini kicking towards the sideline, and he's kicked it straight out. A bit of a rare error from that man. Normally his kicking game is one of the best in the comp, and that one has really skew-whiffed. Will the Reds run up the score versus Fiji and Roa? I think it's going to be a hard game for the draw, because they don't have a lot to play for other than pride. Jamie Joseph is, after all, a top-shelf coach. If next year is more of the same, something needs to change and excuses need to stop being accepted. His fans do better for sure. But that's the thing. Like, at least for Joseph, he's now going to be on his second year. Or third. I think it's second. Whereas if you were to sack him and find another coach, then what if that coach does poorly for the first year? Then you've got all those what-ifs of maybe we need to hang on to him for another year to see if it makes the big difference. But yeah, Highland is one of the most injury-plagued sides throughout the last few years of Super Rugby. So I do think that the coaches have been pretty unlucky with the pool of players they've had available. Now Xavier Numia sitting 20 metres out from the line. Roigard goes across to Peter Lakai. Tackled by Sana Revi. Skip pass from Roigard. Manages to find the hands of Zach Gallagher. Back to the right again. Tyrell Lomax in a Centurion match. 5 phases in a row for the Hurricanes. It's 14-7. Says Sean H. It certainly is. What is the correct score? It is 14-7 after the 17 minutes in this contest. Hopefully the online scoreboard does play the game. It's been a little bit slow at times today compared to yesterday. Yesterday it was on it in a flash. It was actually too fast yesterday. Whereas today it's delaying it a little bit. Now back off to the left-hand side. Strong at the breakdown, says Mr. Allin. Why do I get the feeling that the Hurricanes are going to do a drop kick in this game? Says the What's Up Guys podcast. I mean, they could, but I do think they're chasing tries at the moment. They're trying to make that big statement up against Moana. At the end of the day, Moana beat them last time, so they want to go 1-1 throughout the season and also say, well, we're through to the playoffs. Now, Ruben, love big shot on him by Julian Savia. Crunched him to the turf. Still 10 metres out 15 phases in a row now for the Canes. Shifting left, finds Numi, a pop pass to Brett Cameron, who was under huge pressure from Lalo Milo. In both ways now, Roygaard will decide to go after the try scorer Flanders. Jamie Joseph also said recently the recruitment for the Landers is a big issue. Says Matthew, yeah, it sounds harsh, but there aren't a huge amount of players putting their hand up to go down to Dunedin to play at the moment, unfortunately. That's going to be the penalty now going the way of Moana Pasifika after 17 or 18 phases. Done brilliantly to stop the Canes from getting through. Finn Hurley was quality before he got injured. Will JRK move to the wing when he returns, says the Sporting Kiwi? It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because Finn Hurley, like you said, he was looking like a real talent, and then once again, an injury plagued him. I think Jacob Ratamaitafuki Nepkins, though, if he wants to get in the ABs, I think he's probably got to stick to fullback, as that's probably the jersey that's more up for grabs than, but wing's probably a little bit, to be fair, and having a bit of versatility wouldn't be a bad thing. And come on, Moana Pasifika, says Aloy. Are you covering All Black squad namings tomorrow? I don't think the squad gets named tomorrow, does it, Brandon? It's on the 23rd of June that it's going to be taking place, unless you're talking about a different squad, of course. Either Joseph stated the Highlanders have had as many injuries as most teams, so it doesn't hold much weight as an excuse. But you also have to look at who they've lost. You know, I would say that the Highlanders, this is going to sound harsh, but honestly, you've been pretty harsh to the coach, so we might as well be pretty harsh to the Highlanders. The Highlanders have the worst depth out of any New Zealand side by far. There you go. And when they've had their big players injured, no one has been able to fill those gaps like other teams have been able to do throughout the season. That's why they're dead last. Brutal, but honest. Like, if they had the same depth as someone like the Hurricanes, you know, you lose, let's say, for instance, the Hurricanes lose Duplessis, Karefi, and Peter Lakai. They've still got Braden Yossi and Brad Shields to fill those gaps, alongside still having, like, those other extra players who can fill in those gaps. The Highlanders, when they lose a top player, they are gone from, like, the next 3 games because they can't find someone to fill that gap. Stormers were really disappointing last night. Typical of the Stormers, can't perform away from home. Says Morne Lagrange, nicely taken by Cam Roygaard there at line-out time. And I see so much New Zealand talent in the MLR. Why can't the Highlanders get them? Probably money-wise. I think that they'll be getting paid more to go to America, plus different experience. Now, the heroes to the right-hand side. Roygaard goes to Tyrell Lomax. Sitting 22 metres out for the line. Roygaard back across to Brett Cameron. Quick hands, nicely done by Hugo Plummer. Unfortunately, though, didn't quite find the hands that he was after. What's the right idea? Roygaard back to the left again, finds Plummer. Does not have a crack at doing it this time. Matene wanted to get into that breakdown, wasn't allowed to. Now Peter Umunga Jensen can't quite go through. Player depth issue, says Shane. Why do players not want to go to Dunedin? Is it an unpleasant place? Not really. Like, it's one of the colder locations that you can go in terms of rugby. And Forsyth Bar, you know, you don't have to play with the wind or anything when you're at home. I think it's just, I don't know. It's been that way for a while, though. They've really struggled to get players to head south. It's going to be the Hurricanes line out now, about 47 metres from the line. Are you covering New Zealand women and USA tomorrow? I didn't realise they were playing tomorrow. I think they played last week, didn't they, Brandon? I feel like you're a few weeks off. Because they want to win, says Shane. How do I... Oh, no, I read that one, didn't I? Jacob Devery, 21 minutes through this contest. No, Wellington is the coldest place. Have you been to Dunedin? Wellington's not too bad. They've got the chill factor in terms of the wind in Wellington, but Dunners is not pleasant at times. Let's have a look at the moment, shall we, as a bit of a comparison. Dunedin at the moment. Tell you what, Whinia Nofo, great break and run there. Currently in Dunedin, it is 7 degrees. Now Ruben Love with the pick and go. In Wellington at the moment, it is 14 degrees, so double the temperature north. But now going back across to the right-hand side. Billy Proctor passes one more, but it was forward. They will have to go back for it. Going south is all about the money at Otago Rugby, says Alan. And I'm picking Leinster versus Bulls for the URC final. Who's your pick for the final? I think Leinster have a pretty good chance of making it through off what we've seen from them at times throughout the recent times. Yes, they got knocked out of the Champions Cup, but Fiki Whinia Norfolk, brilliant run down the wing from that man. I actually feel the fill-in players have done a respectable job. Just get a class 10 and stop moving players out of position. They thrive should be top of the agenda. Even the wording there, though, respectable job. That's where you need someone who steps up to do a world-class job and become one of the stars of the team. And I just feel like they haven't had that throughout the season. Don't get me wrong, some of the guys who have come in have tried their best to fill the boots of the injured guys, and some of them have done all right. But in terms of you need those guys to be able to step up to the level that we're seeing across other sides, and with all those injuries, they just couldn't do it. The tempo is also the score, says Keith. That is true. What's your prediction on Bulls versus Edinburgh? I think that the Bulls should get the job done. Edinburgh come in as big underdogs, although to be fair, they had a close game in the Champions Cup quarterfinals, I believe it was, in which Edinburgh actually won. Now, line-out throw again for the Hurricanes. Every time we mention what's happening in the game, I think they've had about 7 line-outs on this near side of the field, it feels like. Devon Flanders, though, claiming it at the front. Du Plessis-Kirifi going back across to the left-hand side. Chipped in behind from Cam Roygar. Proctor chasing after it. The bounce of the ball, though. Sits up for Taveta. Off a missed tackle from Roygaard. And a lot of open space now for Moana Pasifika. Good pace from Offa, but can't get his offload away. Brett Cameron making the one-on-one last-ditch tackle. Now Sana Revi plays half. Savia sees the space on the right. Slings it across to his brother Julian, who bumps off Cam Roygaard. That's 2 in a row that he has been dispatched. But now, ball stolen back by the Canes just at the last moment from Lalomelo knocking it on. Now, while that has to be the closest try ever, says the what's up guys, and also we have Leinster and Jacques. Defence has been cracked. Our teams now know how to attack better with the rush defence. Leinster aren't unbearable. Or aren't unbearable if you keep the ball alive and avoid rucks. Says Christopher, I don't know why they have Cameron on the field. The attacker's a bit confused. Says Red 7. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because he was supposed to be the frontline 10. It was only due to his injury that we saw Ruben Love take on that fly half role, but he's actually done it pretty solidly at times throughout this season. Yeah, just more of a case of just a bit of a reshuffle, maybe confusing them slightly. And boom, Father Bus is back in Wellington, and Leinster will play Glasgow in the semi-finals. We all know what happened in the Champions Cup quarter-final. Says Mornay, that is true. But the last time that the two sides played in the URC, there was only 8 points separating them. Now going off to the right-hand side, big shot from the Hurricanes defence. This time it was Lomax. Oh, Karifi putting in the hit too. Tamatine inside ball to Samisi Tupo Taeloa. Karifi again getting his shoulders busy. And he's tried to get the steal, told to leave it alone. I think it's across 2026 will be more consistent and gain back some respect. Says Jason. Oh, that looked like a knock-on from Jonathan Tamatine on the ground, but it seems like it's play on just for now. Artie Savia trying to run over the top of Roygaard. Now Tamatine popping it up again and behind to Tupo Taeloa. That is a move that they have tried multiple times throughout this match. Bulls versus Leinster final, Bulls to win it, even away from home. And that one, Christopher, winning it at the Aviva. It would be a big win for the Bulls, as they haven't been known as a travelling side throughout their URC tenure. This doesn't look good for the Hurricanes. Says, what's up, guys? They're still ahead by 7, though. And at the end of the day, they only need a win. Moana need to win this game by 3 or more tries, so Moana need another 4 tries from here. Now, Tamatine again will go off to the left-hand side. Du Plessis-Kirifi again gets over the ball and does win the penalty, give the bus a puncture. Says Shane. Du Plessis-Kirifi might have taken a bit of a shot in the process, and in 2006 the Springboks tore yip back to 1979 feel again. Says Brandon. He's only 8 matches away from his 100th game for the Hurricanes. He scored 12 tries throughout that time. Honestly, it feels like it's more frequent than that. Maybe that's because of what he does for the Wellington Lions. He often crosses the try line in that comp. And Glasgow, I think, will beat Leinster in the final, says Demon. Leinster in the final. So in that case, you're saying that a lower side, that means either the Bulls or the Sharks are going to lose in that case for Glasgow to not be facing Leinster in the semis. So who's the team that you're backing out of those two to lose? A long night for the Lucies tonight. Says Red 7. And that one's going to be now thrown in. In fact, no, sorry. No matter what, Leinster and Glasgow face each other in the semis. I've just done the maths in my head. Did Johnny Johnson really say Rico cemented his AB's jersey from that one game? says a sporting Kiwi. People were given high praise to Rico from that performance. Hopefully he can do it multiple times throughout the next games, because I still feel like he needs to really have that spot. Although I'm sure Scott Robertson was pretty happy with that performance. 27 minutes in at the moment. The Hurricanes once again defending here. And also the odds are of all 5 New Zealand teams making the playoff out of 6. Seems slight, but doable if potential equates to performance. Says Jason, I think the thing that hurts them is those derby games, though. Got to remember, for New Zealand sides, they normally have to play, those rivalry fixtures 2 or 3 where they're going up against other Kiwi teams. Whereas the Australians, they're playing their rivalry games up against the Aussie sides, so that gives them a little bit of a boost for a couple of the teams. Give Rico 11. Says Shane, and how much time gone in the game? Currently, we are sitting 28 minutes in, and the Hurricanes are on attack 35 metres out from their own try line. Looks like Roigard. Give this off to Devin Flanders. And tell you what, for a guy who's been out all season, you wouldn't think he has been extremely busy throughout the first 28 minutes of this game. We don't know the Bulls will win today. Who's your pick for the Sharks versus Munster? I think that's going to be the big game in terms of closeness for the quarterfinals. Now, Roigard kicking high and long again. It's going towards the touchline. Nicely claimed by Tavita Offa, though. Now, Patrick Pellegrini kicking downfield. Taken by Brett Cameron. 40 metres out from the try line. 11 minutes remaining in the half. Show and go from Ruben Love. Puts the fend into the face of Samuel Slade. That one seemed a little personal from Love. Now Duplessis Karefi. Quick rush defence there from... Actually, it's the tight head who did manage to come back from his HIA by the looks of it. And Glasgow will play the Bulls in the final and the Bulls will win. Also, you're getting redemption from last year when Bulls lost on home soil. And the Sharks have been consistent enough, or haven't been consistent enough, sorry. Fia Munster might take this one today. Now, sits up for Pellegrini. Good fend on Proctor. Gets rid of him. Drawing pass on the outside to Lalomelo, who has 2 men on his inside. Gives it off to one of them, and Solomon Alaimalo. And Pellegrini lined up with a big hit. Now Samisi Tupo Taialoa fends off Roigard. Ball goes into the hands of Lakai, who I don't even think was trying to get the steal, but it just ended up popping straight into the grasp. And Stormers were disappointing last night. Yeah, unfortunately just nowhere near their best in that game. No Damien Williams, I think, hurt them quite a bit. Sasha was not firing at all. And it just seemed like it was too good to be true for them to get that comeback. Now kick downfield. Oh, that's going to go out just outside of the 22. Do they lose the ball? Says Samuelu. They did Moana Pasifika because they pretty much gave it to Peter Lakai. I got the Blues to win 31 to 40 points on a bet of $2,000 fixed odd at $8.50. Says Corey, and go Moana, says Osea. I love a good old open palm, don't argue. Says Matt. Always thought Devin Flanders is the answer to the All Blacks at 6, but now we have Simon Parker in the mix. All right, throw here for Sanarivi. Get us back underway in this contest. It's been going quick at the moment. Artie Savia with the pick and go off the back. Oh, that looked a little bit cynical from tight head prop on Zach Gallagher. And go Kane, says Hannah. It just makes me happy when the Hurricanes have the ball. Says, what's up, guys? And Roigard getting the treatment, but he don't quit. Yeah, he's a tough man. He's shown that throughout just this game in particular. He's been smashed multiple times. He's been sat down multiple times, but he gets up, has another crack. I kicked him behind by the Canes again into the 22 of Moana, and Patrick Pellegrini under a bit of pressure. Gets the ball into touch, but nowhere near as many metres as he would have liked on it. 25 out from the line now. The Hurricanes have the throw. One couldn't tie Roigard's shoelaces, says the Sporting Kiwi. Okay, the Canes, says Hannah, and also you make the stadium look small, says Pro Pleb. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, it's a very big stadium. Oh. Lalomelo, now the man who's going to make his way off the field. I go the Hurricanes. I got a fixed odd bet on the Hurricanes to win 21 to 30 points, added odd of $10. Good little potential return, says Corey. And that's because it's green screen behind him, says, what's up, guys? But now, ready to throw this ball in. 8 minutes out from the halftime break. I picked Crusaders versus Chiefs for the Super Rugby Pacifica final. I think you would agree. Says Moana. At the moment, they are looking like two of the top sides. Although I think anyone in the top 6 has a good chance of making it through to that final. Not held, so able to go again. Pafihi Nofo, Roigard, back across to the right. Lakai, busy throughout the start of this game, as have all of the Hurricanes loose forwards. Now, Numi, that looked like Lomax joined from the wrong side of the ruck, so very lucky not to end up with a penalty against him there for sealing off. Now, Brett Cameron, cross to Billy Proctor, finds Peter Umanga Jensen, who carves his way through and is dragged down 5 metres short by Patrick Pellegrini. Roigard, pick and go, wants to get it himself, but Savia shuts him down. Karefi, making sure the players are onside, going to play halfback, goes across to Peter Lakai. Tries the directional switch. Gallagher thought about reaching out. In fact, that time it was Dominic Bird, and the penalty goes the way of Moana. 5 metres out from the line. Who else but Artie Savia to pop up holding on to it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me, says, what's up, guys? And who agrees the Blues should have got more against the Waratahs tonight, but the Blues played very well in the second half. Where are they on the table at the moment? They are inside of the top 6. So at this stage, they're playing the Chiefs. The only team that can knock them out of that top 6 is Moana Pasifika, but they would have to win this game with a winning bonus point. So 3 or more tries than their opposition, and at the moment, they're down by 7. Big defence, Moana. Says Aloy. Just getting on it early was Artie Savia. Duplessis Karefi, not happy about it. Brumbies are a class team. Don't forget the sleeper and regret it, says Jason. And yeah, like I said, everyone inside of that top 6 has a chance of winning this comp. And that's the excitement factor. It's not just a one-horse race. That's a not straight line out from Sanarevi. And that is not what they were after. Don't you just hate it when the ref calls false calls? Says, what's up, guys, podcast. Which one are you saying was false? The Savia turnover? Because that looked about as clean as it could have been. And the Sporting 5 best scrum halves, DuPont, Buff de Klerk, Jameson, Gibson Park, Grant Williams, Cam Roigard. Says Demon this 11th. And Isaac Moana says Fleshin. Roigard passes across to Duplessis. Karefi tackled low by Sanarevi. Now Proctor. Dragged down by Pipisana. Patafilo Savia on it again and wins another penalty for a side. See there, Clark Laidlaw straight to the walkie-talkie. He's probably saying, get Savia out of those breakdowns. He just called whoever there was, Effin Beach, says Johnny. Yeah, there'd be a little bit of tension between these two sides, I would think. Of course, ex-team for Savia. Now, Patrick Pellegrini will be able to clear his lines. Needs a much better kick than the last one, and that is a lot better, gaining more territory. Savia hungry tonight. Yeah, he knows that they need a bonus point victory. Like they just said, maybe a little bit too easy for Savia with where that ball was sitting. You know what the coach is saying. Says, what's up, guys? I'm guessing. I would think that if a bloke's come into 2 breakdowns and stolen the ball off you when you're on hot attack, you probably don't want to let that guy get into the next breakdown. That's what the coach should be saying anyway. That wasn't straight from Sanarevi, but because the Hurricanes didn't contest, it means that they do keep the ball. And bring back the sunball so we never get the wooden spoon again, please. Says Jason. Awesome, Marty Savia. And again, says Aloy. Now going back across to the left-hand side, Patrick Pellegrini. Short ball going to Pipisana Patafilo. In fact, it was to be an offer. Gives it off to Roigard. No one will catch him. And he will score the interception try. Cam Roigard pace for days. And that is just a really, I would say, hurtful moment for Moana Pasifika there. You cannot afford to give the ball away. It was just that hesitation from Taveta offer, but beautifully regathered from Cam Roigard. And then no one getting within 15 metres of him. Game over. Moana says them in the 11th. Oh man, we might be in here. But Garrett Davis is in there as the top scrum half. Says Fleshin. And Oopsie says Seller. And Roigard, who else, says Johnny Blaze. And there as well, but taking the chance when it was there for Cam Roigard. Ruben Love, ready to now get the chance to line this one up. Interesting that they're letting him kick rather than Brett Cameron, but he has been going all right so far, sitting 3 from 3 today. Now 21 points to 7. After Savia's 2 outstanding turnovers, Royard snatches a try, says Red 7, and it just shows how brutal of a game rugby can be, you know. Hurricanes on attack for ages. Savia finally gets his side up the field a little bit more, and then Moana Pasifika, just one wrong decision, one slight hesitation leads to 7 points to the opposition. All those hard work from Savia for nothing. Says Moss there. Now taken well by Zach Gallagher. Only 3 minutes remaining in this first half. It has been absolutely flying by here. Now Proctor goes up for it and takes it nicely. That looked like a little bit of high contact. It will be the advantage to the Hurricanes yet again. Roygar looking for the little kicker behind. Finds a lot of open space there. Great chase from Balin Sullivan, who wants to bounce to the ball. Pellegrini unable to claim it. Is this taken back? No, it's a goal line dropout. What a rubbish last to Super Rugby it's been. Says Stephen the 11th. In what regard? What game have you been disappointed with? Nicely done there. And that's the spirit. Corey says, what's up, guys, podcast. And yeah, go the Hurricanes, says Corey. Oh. Okay, it is off gold, so that being the Hurricanes, and it is a goal line dropout. How did you sleep throughout the week? Not the best, but we're getting there. Well, not really. We'll end up with a pretty rough sleep schedule over this weekend. I'm not going to be sleeping until probably about 18 hours' time. Maybe even longer. I might just stay up for tomorrow. It might be easier than trying to sleep for a couple hours. Duplessis Karifi. Got tackle made on him by Pipisana Patafilo. I have Savia, Whailangi, Roygaard and Proctor selected for this game. Seems a good lineup. Says Jason. Yeah, we have hardly seen Proctor's the only thing, but other than that, I mean, Savi has been strong with his turnovers. Roygaard scored. Whailangi I haven't seen. It's at the moment 2 from 4 doing the job for you. Here's Billy Proctor with the ball and going to be held up by Miracle Whailangi. It's going to be called as a maul. Hurricane shutting that one down, and another steal for Adi Savia, his 3rd in a row. Goes out to Julian, who's gone with a forward pass, was it? No, it's going to be play on. All these games this season have been incredible. Edge of the seat rugby, loving it up to Kane, says Wade. And also all that, well then try not to be in a bad mood tomorrow. Says, what's up guys, and how do my Blues make the finals? All they need is Moana Pasifika to not win this game with a bonus point. For Moana to get the bonus point though, they would have to score 5 tries back to back to back in the second half without the Hurricanes scoring 1. So the chances are becoming a lot more slim. Now, Umanga Jensen through he goes again. Now the Hurricanes might be able to score 5 in a row as he will go over and gets the ball down. And Umanga Jensen scores the Hurricanes 4th. And we have there, get you sleeping, mate. Says Flesh. And although the thing is, we will be live up until around 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, New Zealand time. And then from there, I'm probably going to end up doing a few things in the morning. And then once you get to lunchtime, you just don't know whether you should sleep during the day or whether you should just fire through. Don't you just love the sound of the stadium siren? How good is Samisi Tupotai Loa? There's talk of him as an AB's bolter. Is he wanting to play for the All Blacks? I would have thought he would be going for a Samoan kit, but I mean, he's certainly been in great form. That's a bonus point for the Canes. Says Kiwi Robin among Jensen Shishia. He's come back and done extremely well. Yeah, a little bit high from Savia, and the tackle after the try was scored. And 4th Canes meat pie. And damn game over. Says Hello, Moana Pasifika will not win this game. I can put money on that. Says Corey, it sounds like you did. You backed Hurricanes 21-30, didn't you? And 7 defenders beat him right here. And how do the finals work? So it will be 1 versus 6, 2 versus 5, 3 versus 4. Whoever wins those games will go through to the semis. The other semi is determined by the highest ranked next team, if that makes sense. So it is a little bit confusing, I will admit. But it makes sense when you see it as a whole. I'm just trying to find the best wording because they have got it on an app that I have. So the gist of it is pretty much the best ranked loser goes through to the semis. If the best ranked loser is the number 1 seed, they drop a seed. Same with if you're number 2 seed and you lose, you go down to being 3rd seed. So you lose your home field advantage pretty much is the gist of it. Highest ranked loser gets a second chance. Says Nov Mum in qualifying finals, 1 versus 6, 2 versus 5, 3 versus 4. Top ranked team hosting. Yeah, although it can change who is hosting depending on the result of the playoffs. But hopefully it's nice and simple and we will be able to explain it all throughout the The game's taking place next week. Semi-finals, 3 qualifiers, or qualifying winners plus highest ranked loser. Teams re-ranked with 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3. Now, I wonder, have they actually announced when the Super Rugby semis are taking place? Or, sorry, the playoff games? Because I know that they won't know who's playing who. But have they got any sort of time scheduled? Okay, it's all to be determined. I would assume, though, 1 game on Friday night and then 1 game at 7:05 on Saturday and 9:35 on Saturday as well. That will be the Brumbies home game, I believe they'll... Or unless they just go 1 game on Saturday, they might go 2 on Friday night, although the Brumbies do like playing on a Saturday at 9:35. And what a first start says, What's Up Guys podcast. It went very fast, didn't it? But a great start to the match for the Hurricanes. They are in the position, if the scoreboard was switched, this is what Moana would have had to do to get through to the next stage of the comp. They needed to win this game with a bonus point victory. They will have to score 6 tries in a row now to be able to get there. In fact, it might even be 7. What are your thoughts on Duplessis Korefi? If he will make the All Blacks? He's one that really splits opinions. We went on about it a little bit last night because people seem to have the thing against Korefi saying he's not big enough. But, you know, the man for his size, he just goes out there and just absolutely just tries to bulldoze everyone and, you know, shows a lot of heart throughout those games as well, which is what you want to see. The guys who are really going out there and trying to make a statement. It's only felt fast because yesterday half took 1,000 hours. You need an assistant, Hamish, to fill in while you get some sleep. Cheerleader should be acceptable, I feel, says Jason. And is there only 3 quarterfinals? How does that work? Yeah, so it's a weird one because they call it quarterfinals, but there's only 3 matches. So I have no idea what to call it next week in terms of whether to put playoff final in the title or whether I put quarter. But yeah, it's pretty much the top side who is ranked at the highest who lose get another chance. So it's like a lifeline type of situation. So theoretically, the Hurricanes, if they were to lose to the Brumbies, they would still get another chance, even though they're only ranked 4th in the overall standings. And we have good there. I like when the Hurricanes are versing teams who are not that good. Says the What's Up podcast. And if the Hurricanes can put more than 85 points on Moana, they are the new favourites. Says the Sporting Kiwi. And who are the standout props in the comp, sir? Oh, see, props aren't my best department, unfortunately. I normally don't see everything that the props are doing. As normally for the scrum resets, that's what we end up saying more than the actual scrum wins. But Ollie Norris, I think, has been a standout for the Chiefs throughout the season. Marcel Renitis looked pretty handy for the Blues. Bell's had some decent moments for the Tars, but I don't know if I'd say he's right at the top. James Slipper hasn't been too bad, to be honest. For like a Brumbies veteran, he's still looking pretty handy. Who else? I mean, Numi hasn't quite had the same season as last year, but he still looked solid enough. Same with Lomax. Crusaders, Tamaiti's been not too bad. What happens if all the 3 top teams lose? Then what? Well, if all 3 of the top teams lose, the Chiefs would get the revitalizing stage. They would get to go through to the semis. But then the other games, we'll just show the table again because I actually think this is where the table will end, with the exception of the Blues now being in 6th, which is where they are. I just haven't got an updated graphic just for now. So the Blues are in 6th. Remember that for that. So if the 3 top sides lose, because the Chiefs are the top qualifier, they will go through to the semi-finals and they would be facing up against the Reds in that semi-final. But I think they would still be at home because they would only drop to the number 2 seed rather than dropping to 3. So the Reds would have to play away from home and it would be Canes versus Canes versus Blues in Wellington. But yeah, like I said, we'll explain it as we go. George Wright, he's been very solid as well for the Chiefs. Brumbies prop is first in fantasy points. Says Highlanders. Is that James Slipper or the other Brumbies prop? And top 3 get 2 lives. Says Shane. 2 lives? Why do they get 2 lives rather than just the 1? So if they lose next week, that's their last life. And then after that, they go home. I know only 1 team get to live, James. And I want you to live stream yourself going to the stadium for the Super Rugby final. That would be, sadly, a little bit illegal, I believe, depending on what I show. But one thing that I've kept kind of secret, but I might as well say it now, at some point in the next week or 2, we'll probably have a video coming up from when we went to that Christchurch game between the Crusaders and the Highlanders. just because first Super Rugby game for myself, so I thought I'd do a bit, not so much a vlog, but just take a few clips and add a voiceover and whatnot, so that might come out at some point. Okay, thanks there, Shane. Lucia, Tamaiti, De Groot, and either Norris or Numia. Tight head, Lomax, Tossi. Also, you're going with Pasilio Tossi again, even though doesn't get a lot of those starting minutes for the Canes. Null coming back from an injury very soon, so he'll be back in the running. So there's no game afterwards. If the top three lose their playoff game, their advantage is just a home game, says Taiona. So pretty much if more than one of the top three lose their game, the top-ranked loser still goes through to the semis. That's their lifeline. But let's say, for instance, the Chiefs lose. That means anyone else who is in that top three that loses don't get that same lifeline that the Chiefs would get. If the Chiefs win, but then the side in second, the Crusaders, if they were to lose, they get the lifeline. And then it's just a normal competition format like the others with the semi-final situation. The Hurricanes were the number one team in the country. Now they're not. So here's the What's Up Guys podcast. And from the Brumbies, says Highlanders fan. Oh, Alatoa, is it? And it's looking like it's halftime currently. It certainly is. Turnovers conceded 9 for the Hurricanes, 7 for Moana Pasifika, 7 penalties in total from these two sides combined. Okay. They're just saying there, if the Canes get the bonus point, the top 6 is set. Now, of course, the Reds would have to beat the Fiji and Roa by a pretty large margin, about 60 points, but who knows where the draw are at this stage of the comp. And shining up my cowbell to support the Chiefs in the finals, and is the fact that Aussie teams been perennial losers in Super Rugby a factor, and why Union is so bad in Aussie compared to League? Maybe a little bit. Like, they have had a lot of tough seasons in the past for Aussie sides. I think the international side of things as well is hurting a little bit. It has been hurting because of their win-loss ratio at times. Like back in about 2015, even then they were struggling a little bit, or even a little bit before that. But, that was when they had a bit more support. But then that was probably when the NRL was slightly smaller. Now it's grown to quite a big entity. The Hurricanes need Bowden Barrett to be good again, says What's Up Guys podcast. And also, Canes are switched on. Moana's chances of winning has dropped big. I think it is cemented, says Mr. All, and it does look that way, doesn't it? And how did you think the Landers would do if they were in the playoffs? Honestly, they'd probably lose. It sounds bad to say, but they just haven't shown enough throughout the second half of the season to think that it would be anything else. Once again, sounds harsh. Union has always been number 4 or less, even in Oz, says Colin. Yeah, there's so many other sports that take priority. AFL even is one that is that little bit higher up. But yeah, it's an intriguing one, whether or not rugby with this British and Irish Lions tour, whether it's going to be able to really create some sort of massive boost for Aussie Rugby Union. I think the Wallabies can put a good 23 together, but they just don't have the depth like New Zealand, says the Sporting Kiwi. Yeah, I can't really complain, says Highlanders fan. And they're there too, but looking through at who is off the bench in this contest, ladies and gentlemen, for the Hurricanes, they have got Raymond Tuputupu, Pori Dakiti Stones, and Basilio Tossi as that number 18. Will Tucker and Brad Shields, the other two forward replacements, with Iritara Inari, Honerova, and also Clark as the number 23. That is, of course, TJ Clark. Spelled T-J-A-Y, I believe. That's how he does it. But Moana Pasifika, Sam Molly, Abraham Poli, and Chris Apua have made his way on briefly in the first half. Alan Craig and Lotu Anisi, the long-awaited return of that man. Will be awesome to see him back in action for Moana. Malani Matavao, Jackson Garden Basham, and Pipisana Patafilo. He made his way on the park. That was due to the head knock that we saw from Lalo Milo. Got to stop taking All Blacks games to Wellington. They don't sell there. And they also lose in Wellington quite often, unfortunately. The All Blacks are back at Sky Stadium next month. Says the What's Up Guys podcast. And draw to win 200 to 199. Says Highlanders fan. There you what, if that happened, I would not know what happened to either side's defences. In that case, we saw a pretty high-scoring game between South Africa and New Zealand in the under-20s rugby. That game didn't have a lot of tackles taking place at times, but both sides only got around that 50 mark. Zavi is still the best player in the Super 12, says Aloy. I think he's one player of the year already without the playoff games taking place. Why his parents name his first name, last name, the same name. I couldn't tell you. Maybe there's some sort of story behind it. All I know is I normally end up saying both names because then I get confused at whether I've said his first or his last name. So I try and say both. Hamilton game sold out a long time ago. Says a Sporting Kiwi. The Crusaders dropped like 96 in the quarterfinal once. And why has Beauden Barrett left the Hurricanes and the All Blacks? I mean, he's still in the All Blacks and he left the Hurricanes like 7 years ago. I think it would have been. He's been away for quite some time. He's had a stint in Japan. He's had a stint for the Blues, of course, currently. Hurricanes 102, Moana Pasifika $12. Interesting, though, isn't it? The fact that in that game between the Blues and the Waratahs, when the Waratahs were down by 18, they were $31 underdogs. Whereas when Moana are down by more, they are less than half the underdogs. That is because of what they've been able to do in some of their second halves. When you have a game like the NRL, and you are the only dog in that game, you can't blame the people for following it. Kids like winners. Says Fleshin. Yeah, well, I want them back. Or want them back, says what's up, guys. And also their international rugby league does very well for the Aussies as well. So that does help. That second half. Very close to taking place. But if Moana, that's the thing. If they win, they still probably won't make it to the playoffs. Up the Blues, we're going back to back, says Tim there. He will be a very happy man, even more so because Rico got a hat trick, which is something that many people have been waiting a long time for. But maybe it continues. Maybe he gets. That's the thing. If the Blues made it to the final, Rico has the potential. He's currently on 5 tries. He could get up to 8, 9, maybe even 10 if he has a good crack. And AJ Lamb's in the inside role. And up the Blues says Mr. All In and just walked in. You get boys up the Canes. Swap that water for a Smirnoff. Says Vito Scucks. And up the Blues says Mr. All In. And yeah, well, up the Canes. Says, what's up, guys? Beauden Barrett left because his missus got him to purchase her parents' house in Rich Remuera in Auckland. Poor Beauden Barrett the simp. She's spending his money to help her parents. Is that actually like the story? I'd assume that he didn't mind doing it, you would think. Rugby Hitch impossible when the Reds are winning it all with a McWright masterclass, says Xavier. And good evening, Hamish, says Zion. And also, do you think the draw can upset the Reds? The thing is, if the Hurricanes win this game, it won't actually do anything either way. So we might see the Reds not have as much aggression in that contest, and they might play a little bit more of a safer game to try and avoid injuries. We have got there Rico as a finisher that can tackle 11 all day. Says Shane, what a rubbish game. Poor for the game of rugby not taking any more away from Moana, but Super Rugby needs more teams and it won't last another few years. Where's that come from, Demon the 11th? You seem like you were in a good mood before. What's happened? Was it the fact that you wanted Moana to win and now you've gone, this competition sucks? Or is it just something else that happened? The Blues making it through to the top 6, I know, has boiled a few people's bloods. No lie, brother. Baldy Parents' house. The sis is smart, says Johnny. Yep, Barrett went to the Blues because his wife is in Auckland. Says Red 7. Who's the ref? TKL says Death Reaper. For this game, referee in charge is Angus Gardner, I believe. He's all upset. Says Patrick. And does the winning team get a pay bonus that week? I'd assume you get some sort of prize money for being up there in terms of making the top 6. I feel like if the Hurricanes score a try, Moana Pasifika will be like, come on, guys, we can do better. I'd love to see one Japan and one Argentina and one Hawaiian team in Super Rugby, says Demon the 11th. There isn't really an international or any international league. GB, New Zealand and Papa don't really provide any real competition, says Fleshin. And it's been a bit of a shame because as much as they want to grow the game of league, by the sounds of it, they've also shut down how many teams are in that next World Cup, haven't they? It's like 8 teams or something, I think I heard. Maybe even, surely not 6. But yeah, they've made a big change to the rugby league format because of all those one-sided games that we saw in the last comp. Only way Moana come back for get the win. And the bonus point is if the monsters from Star Jam came and took the Canes' skills, and the Canes will wipe the floor with them in the second half. Here's Patrick, but this one's going to be kicked off now by Moana Pasifika, taken by Ruben Love. Hurricanes now with the ball in hand. Roygaard going back across to the right-hand side to Devon Flanders. The Hurricanes were too good, and now they're not. says the What's Up Guys podcast. I mean, they're doing pretty well at the moment, though, sitting 28 points to 7 up against a side that they did lose to in the first time that they met. And now, back across to the right-hand side, straight through the gap for Solomon Alaimalo. Tackled by Ruben Love. Like Laidlaw saying that he felt Moana actually defended very well throughout the middle part of that half, but the Hurricanes having a really good last 10 minutes, as well as a great start. But I think it was that interception try of Roygaard that really hurt Moana Pasifika. I didn't know Hawaii even had a rugby pitch. Says Christopher, are you doing the Reds game? We are not, because we are going to be doing the the URC quarterfinal match between the Bulls and the Edinburgh side. Oh, Pellegrini's been smashed as he tried to chase after that kick. Did not go well for him. Did anyone purchase any of the All Blacks gear I mentioned a couple of weeks ago? When I looked, there was only 3XL left. So, yeah, I did not. Don't you just find it confusing when they switch sides? Says, what's up, guys? Not really, no. You just, whatever they were doing in terms of directional, the first half, they just 180. Now, Brett Cameron, kicking this one high, and Tanu Umanga needs a haircut. His dreads are looking rough these days. Says, Johnny, nice take from Solomon Alaimalo. He's actually a really strong game here for Moana. I hate when they do the coach interviews during the game. The amount of times the try happens in the to the opposition, just like with Jamie Joseph last night. Says a Sporting Kiwi. And Chiefs, Crusaders, Hurricanes, Brumbies look the only possible champions to me. See, I don't want to change your opinion, but I think the Blues have to be in there just a little bit, because if they play like they did up against the Waratahs, next week up against the Chiefs, and the previous games between the two sides with how close some of them have been, rematch of last year's final as well. Opening contest, it's going to be an intriguing one. And Hamish has his priority straight. It's Bulls game over the Reds, says Christopher, but it's more so just the overlap. And also the fact that Reds game at the moment looks like it's not actually going to change anything table-wise. How long left? Still another 37 minutes remaining in this contest, but the Hurricanes getting themselves the penalty. As for just getting on the ground from Sanarevi. And then Devon Flanders and Lakai ripping the ball away. Breakdown fields, 5 at the moment for Moana Pasifika. 3 of those have been Artie Savia. Now, all not straight from the Hurricanes. And Murray Mixted said if a Super Rugby team could be formed and based in Hawaii, it would be used forming in a NFL stadium that is there. Says Matthew. Let's hope the Canes got this, says Paul. If the Hurricanes were versing the Reds, the Hurricanes would so win this. Says, what's up, guys? Oh, referee just saying, do you want me to penalise you? To one of the Hurricanes players, I believe it would have been. Not mincing his words, but straight. I assume that's not straight there. And now, line out for the Hurricanes on the halfway line. Brett Cameron goes across to Umanga Jensen. He's really looked strong since coming back for the Hurricanes too. A lot of guys peaking at the right time for this competition. There's going to be some absolutely incredible matches over the next couple of weeks, and we are going to be covering them on the channel. Anyone who's new, sure to hit that subscribe button. Ball drop back. No, to go forward, my apologies, off Devon Flanders. Proctor, if you want that jersey, you got to go get it. Says Shane. Blues will go all the way, says Vito Skux. Now 44 minutes have passed. Tackle completion, pretty good for Moana Pasifika, sitting 86. And come on the Blues, says Paul. 83% for the Hurricanes, so they are right up there too in terms of their accuracy. And I mean the Canes, says Paul. Currently sitting with around that 35 left. This is where the Hurricanes can be a bit strategic with who they sub on and off. Of course, the win here with a bonus point would secure no matter what their spot. In that 4th spot, Peter Lakai trying to carry the ball in one hand and it slips out of his fingertips. Patrick Pellegrini kicking it into touch, but once again just narrowly misses that 50-22. Oh, okay. They were trying to work out if it was a 50-22, but the ball went out in touch before the 22, so it was not. Blues all the way, watch out the Chiefs, TSK, yeah, that game next week's going to be incredible. I hope, anyway. I hope both sides really do deliver. Do you play Rugby Challenge? I used to play it a lot. We actually started off on the channel with some Rugby Challenge 4 stuff. Feels like a very long time ago. And there will be a lot of disappointed players when they name the ABs. Absolutely. There always is. And there's always the ones who consider going overseas, or the ones that kind of use it as fuel to go and play better the next season. That's a good run from Pipisana Patafilo. 42 metres out, Jonathan Tamatine goes off to Sanarivi. Hurricanes been tackling well when they go low. And Chiefs Crusaders final. Chiefs will be at 2025 championship. What do you mean, name the ABs? When they announced their squad on the 23rd of June. People have a short memory. Japan and Argentina have had teams. Super Rugby, Hikuares and the Sunwolves have 4 South African teams. For some reason it wasn't wanted. So here's Christopher DeVette. That's going to be the penalty now going the way of Moana Pasifika. That is against Billy Proctor for being offside. He has been far from his best in this game. And it's probably the contest that you want to see him at his best, because Rico had a great match just before. And good things come to those who prosper. Says Jason, anyone from New Zealand, any notice that the moon went on holiday for a few days, like almost a week? Says Death. I didn't realise. Oh, Pellegrini kicking it dead here again. He has not had the best day off the kicking boot in general, rather than just... Yeah, he's frustrated there, Pellegrini. He knows how crucial these ones that have been finding touch could have been for him. Currently, the way that it sits, the Hurricanes would get themselves that bonus point if Moana Pasifika out. Who will be the underdogs in the playoffs? Probably still the Blues, in terms of the fact that they come in as the 6th ranked side. And they do have to try and beat the Chiefs, who have looked very strong throughout the season. Pellegrini is making a mess, says Red 7. Yeah, for a guy who's been so consistent throughout the season, something about this matchup up against the Canes. Maybe it's the extra pressure that is on the shoulders of this Moana side. Any injuries, any yellow cards? No yellow cards. Injury early on for... Oh, nice inside ball for Lalomilo. Lalomilo ended up with a head knock. And then also, I think Polridakity Stones is on, but I don't think that's for the injury of Numia. That might have just been an early change that they decided to make. How's it? Amish just joined. Both Savias, or how are both Savias? Oh, sorry, are they just playing? Yes, they are. Savia at the moment, in terms of Artie, has got himself 3 turnovers. Julian's had a couple big runs. And it looks like Mate Eli is going to have to be the 12 if Quinn isn't available, says the Sporting Kiwi. That's a big one, isn't it? Like the fact that in just a few weeks they've lost Quinn Tupai, and they've lost Anton Leonard-Brown, and they've lost Amoni Narawa. Like that list is starting to get a little bit heavier for the Chiefs at the most unopportune time of the season. Now Jacob Devery ready to throw it in, and nicely claimed by Hugo Plum. Anyone, or only one thing I've noticed disappeared in New Zealand is a decent wage and affordable prices. Says Jason. I think Moana relied too much on Artie, says Patrick. I mean, he's definitely the leader of the side in terms of what he's able to do. And he stepped up big time throughout the start of this match. I mean, we saw some decent moments from Samisi Tupotaeloa. Haven't really seen Miracle Fire Lungi that much, though. Nice skip pass out to Balin Sullivan. Moves to 20 metres out the line. Tackled by Kieran Tumafalau, who I don't think we've seen the ball run in hand maybe once in that first half. Moana Pasifika come back. Watch this, says Yeshua. Now pop pass. Lomax off to Peter Umaga Jensen. 5 metres out, and he scores the try that will give the Hurricanes their 5th of the contest. We have got there. Did the Reds qualify for the playoffs? They certainly did. If they do win this game comfortably, the Canes, it does mean that the Reds will qualify 5th and play the Crusaders in the playoff match next week. Game over, says Demon the 11th try again. Says Red 7. And the Hurricanes score, says the What's Up Guys podcast. And how bad do you want it? Go Moana, says Rups. But the thing is, from here, with the amount of tries that we have seen, Moana would need to score, I think it's 7 tries in a row to go through to the next stage. They can win this game, like in terms of theoretically they could win it, but they still wouldn't make the top 8 unless they win it by 3 or more tries than their opposition. So at this stage, the playoffs are gone for Moana. the game is pretty much gone, but can they find some sort of momentum later on in this game and try and finish the season on a bit of a high? Now, lining up this kick, Cam Royard does get it over. And that is now... Did I say Brett Cameron or did I say Ruben Love? Because Ruben Love was the man who did kick that one. Currently sitting 5 from 5 off of his kicking tee. And we have got there who will be inside centre for the ABs. It's a bit of a tricky one, and it does depend, I believe, on who's match fit. All right, Lomax, he has made his way off of the field. That one's kept in the field of play. And now trying to get that ball for Peter Lakai. What do I feel, or get the feeling that Moana are going to do a comeback? I don't, unfortunately. I just think that this one now, being down by 28 points with 28 minutes to go, might just be a bit too much for them. The penalty does go their way, though, for Moana Pasifika. They will always keep on trying, that's for sure. Brasavia carrying the team, but the team ain't teaming right now. So here's Mr. Awota. And also we have got the I Love You Canes and the Blues. And man, Bowden Barrett is a terrible goal kicker. Facts. Says Colin. Yeah, he hasn't had the best run off the kicking tee, has he? And they can't do a comeback. Says King Zion. And it's lights out for Moana. Catch them up. Says Emery. Medical Fire Lungy. Sounds like he is making his way off. So we're seeing a few changes being made for these two sides at this stage of the match. For the Hurricanes, they've taken off Cam Royard. Smart move. You don't want that man getting injured before the end of the match. We also do see the return of Lotu Anisi, which is fantastic to see him off the bench in this game, as it's been quite some time since we've seen that man in action. Clark onto the field. That is for Fihi Norfo. Now pick and go here. Ferrari Savia 10 metres out from the line. Bit of a counter ruck coming from the Hurricanes. And that is a perfect steal from Peter Umaga Jensen. And that ball's gone into Dutch. Abraham Pole also makes his way on for Tui Palotu. And Hugh should start at number 13 for the AB, says Guinea. Yeah, just really nicely done from Peter Umaga Jensen. Just really taking those deep breaths. They're saying one test cap for Peter Umaga Jensen, but perhaps if he can keep on playing well, find himself with a few more in the future. Moana, as Cook says, Kiwi strong. Canes put their hands up for the final rounds, and I can see Moana getting 2 more tries. And Canes hitting their stride now. Says Colin. Now off to the left, Jonathan Tamatine. The hands of Samuel Slade, but this Hurricanes defence is just muscled up. Munga Jensen told to get out of that one. Bit of a counter-up coming. Oh, Savia almost getting a cheap shot on Eritara Eneri. 25 metres out. Tamatine goes across to Lotu Anisi for his first carry since returning. Moana will win, says Victor. Will they? 4 converted tries to get back to a draw at this stage in the last 26 minutes for Moana Pasifika. Now, don't get me wrong, they've had some massive comebacks before, but the penalty now goes the way of the Hurricanes. It was Duplessis, Karefi, and Tossi, I believe, both got in there. Simon Parker or Cullen Grace. Who do you guys have in the AB squad? That's actually a really tough one, because we've got to also remember Brazier, he might have a little bit of Crusaders bias in there, just a tad, so you might see Cullen Grace get that nod, but Parker's been outstanding throughout this year, and I feel like he'll probably be unlucky, because they might even select Satiti and they might select Finau as their number 6s. Just depends on how many they're looking at bringing for that French tour. And the Canes, or the Blues, the Hurricanes' nemesis, says the What's Up Guys podcast. Was Umaga Jensen injured when Higgins was playing, or was that purely a selection change? Both are very good. I believe Umaga Jensen was out when Higgins was just coming back. Then Higgins got re-injured, and then Umaga Jensen came back. So it actually worked quite nicely in terms of the timing, just not ideal for the guys who are having those injuries. Ethan de Groot could end up being a halfback for the ABs. At least get the ball away wouldn't be a suitable option, says Jason. Mr. Blues game TKL. Is there any more games after this one? There is Reds versus Fiji and draw, but we aren't covering that one on the channel. Instead, we are going to be doing the URC quarterfinals, starting at 11:30 p.m. New Zealand time, running right through to 6:30 a.m. But we will be starting with a 20-minute build-up for that Bulls versus Edinburgh contest. Kick tie again from Jonathan Tamatino, who looked like he might have done a little bit of damage to his knee. Looked like a knock on there. Looks like it's going to be play on, though, for Moana Pasifika. Solomon Alai Marlow, been one of the better players in the back line for this Moana side. Cross kick attempted from Pellegrini, and it could have been Proctor's, but he does drop it. Yeah, Pellegrini's radar's been miles off today, and it just seems like everything's getting stopped. URC is boring, says Vericilla. In what way would you say it's like boring? Are you saying the scores are too low? Are you saying that the style of play? What would it be? Because I know that a lot of people say the URC is boring, but then most of the people who say the URC are boring don't actually watch the URC. They just say it because it's cool to say it, rather than actually giving it a chance. The Reds versus Fiji and Roa. That is the game kicking off at 9:35 p.m. Now ready to put this ball in. Good commentary from Mum and Dad. Says Mum and Dad. So yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying your trip at the moment. Patrick Pellegrini goes off to Julian Savia. He's run over one. Roygaard's had a tough day at the office. So is Eritana, Inari, and Cameron. That channel, URC, is not a bad watch. Says Death Reaper. And also Billy Proctor split his lollies. Says Johnny. And let's go the Hurricanes. Yes, says Panina. Now back across to the right-hand side. Julian Savia. Tackled round halfway yet again. I'll try watching URC. It's not exciting like Super Rugby. Which game did you watch the Sporting Kiwi for your URC experience? Because just like Super Rugby, there are dud games. Like every once in a while, a game won't quite hit the same. Plus, I do find that if you don't know many of the players, it's not as entertaining. Like if you watch it week in, week out and you know who's on the teams, then it starts to get like a little bit better. It's like watching a movie that has actors in it that you know. But compared to the ones that like are just random people. Hurricanes says Clifton. I still see a lot of upright tackles, and we have got the high who's going to win the Super Rugby final. That's a very tricky question at this stage. And if the Hurricanes rest on this lead a bit, it will be interesting to see if they keep this points gap. And Rico's performance has really affected Proctor's mojo. Well, that's the thing. Proctor went from the guy who seemed like he was save his houses to be that number 13, and now Rico scores one hat trick, and people are changing their mind. What does URC stand for? United Rugby Championship. Unexciting rugby chaps. It just seems like there's a whole heap of hate for the URC for no reason. Like, and we mentioned about it a few weeks ago, about how it seems like you can't like more than one competition without people getting annoyed at you. Like, it's different styles. Though, French Top 14, some people absolutely despise that comp. Some people absolutely love it. It's like anything. It's like flavors of ice cream. Sometimes you like a certain flavor. Someone else hates it. Pineapple on pizza. That's a big one in terms of the debate. That's pretty much Super Rugby or URC. There you go. That's an analogy. URC players do not have skills, especially all teams. Especially all teams. That sounded like you were going to get specific with one side. But especially every single team in the URC are not skilled, you've said. Okay, I feel like you've just told me you don't watch the URC without telling me you don't watch the URC. The Reds put on a clinic. Then we got us a playoff and love pineapple on pizza, says Seller. And the best club cups are the Viva Premiership, European Challenge Championship, and the NPC, says Demon the 11th. And semi-final shivering mode, Moana. What's the chance of Super Rugby going back to 12 or even 16 teams next year, says Johan. I don't think they'll extend too soon. I feel like eventually they'll try and sort something out in terms of extending it. It sounds like Virozilla has something in his mind, says Christopher, and the URC is amazing, says Paul. Thanks for the live chat, brother, says Aloy. Looks like Peter Larkai, a little bit of a limp as he makes his way off the field here. URC Super Rugby sounds like the whole Marvel versus DC. Yep, it's pretty much like that. It's the same as Bowden Barrett or Damien McKenzie for the fly half role. Like, for some reason, you can't say they're both good. You have to say, I hate one or the other, or else people get annoyed. Makes the Jaguares, to be honest, says Red 7. There was the South African team with Hollywood in their name versus Edinburgh, I believe, says the Sporting Kiwi. So that's the Hollywood Bet Sharks. That's the same as the equivalent of the Vodacom Bulls or anything like that, just a sponsor's name in the team name. We're going to see, oh, that was to the head of Zach Gallagher. He's had a tough game too. He's taken a shot in the spine. He's taken a shot to the back. Oh, sorry, to the head. Almost, yeah. I was going to say the back of the head, but that's more like the crown. That's on the top. Probably a yellow card at least here for Abraham Pulley. And let's see the rugby teams versus URC teams. We did Super Rugby winners versus URC winners. The URC winner won. Munster beat the Crusaders. But that's the only game we have to base it off. But 100% winning rate for URC champions versus Super Rugby champions. There you go. And Super Rugby should have like 30 teams. Says Colossus. That would be a colossal number if they had the 30 teams. But that is not going to make it any easier for the last 20 minutes of this contest. Yes, this game is over for Moana. Yeah, exactly right. Like, they aren't going to come back from this. They can still put in a bit of a shot, have a bit of a go. But yeah, I think that their yellow card too is kind of the end of it for them here. And favourites Chiefs to win, but never count out the Crusaders, says Ronnie. And Blues, man, smoked the Waratahs, says the Red Warrior. The Blues look really good. You know, Rico getting the hat-trick, Talia coming back and getting 2 tries. Will they do that Super Rugby versus URC winners anytime again that you know of? They probably won't before the Club World Cup because they just decided that there wasn't enough interest. But the reason there wasn't enough interest is because they did it at the same time as a Six Nations game, so people were watching that rather than watching that Munster versus Crusaders matchup. So I feel like they shot themselves in the foot a little bit there. This is why, this is the part where the the Hurricanes score a try. And thanks for the live stir, says Moss. And we have the worst team to watch is the Lions. Is that the British and Irish Lions or the Emirates Lions? Or the Golden Lions? Which one? I assume the URC Lions you're talking. Now, going to be a rolling maul here. Now, all that's over. And it's going to be, I think it is the replacement, Raymond Tupu, who manages to cross the line. Show us the doll where the big bad URC touched you, Virasilla. Is he talking about the British and Irish Lions? I have no idea which side. And come on, there was a battle hard of Munster already well into their season. There's a pre-season depleted Crusaders, new fresh coach that lost all games that year, says Johnny. Yeah, although like Munster, to their credit, they had to lose all their players in that to the Six Nations squad as well. It was just terrible timing for that match. And I feel like they really just swept it under the rug as if it wasn't like an important game. People wanted to see it. Yes, URC Lions are the worst team. Have you heard of the Dragons? The Dragons will certainly give you a bit of a headache if you are a supporter of theirs. They've won 1 game this season. Their points differential is about minus 250. I wish there was closer games most of the time, or at least for me, the games have blowouts, says Seller. And have you explained the team rankings? We certainly have. So the Hurricanes with the win here, because they are sitting extremely high in terms of there's no chance of them losing that bonus point from here on out, unless something really drastic happened. But for now, it would be Hurricanes, Brumbies, Crusaders versus Reds, and Chiefs versus Blues. So is this another 85-7 scoring? It could go that way if they're not too careful. Still another 18 minutes left, but the Hurricanes in position inside of their 22. Here's TJ Clark, the debutant. Now Eritare Enari, told to use it, so does fire it back into the pocket. Pineapple makes your nuts sweet, says Johnny. How did you find that out, Johnny? Quickly taste test with it. Now, sitting 40 metres out from their line, the Hurricanes looking for this ball, but Moana Pasifika have managed to get this one back. Little flick pass out from Loto and Nisi. I feel like the Hurricanes will verse the Brumbies in the quarterfinal. They will, yes. And it is going to be a Brumbies home game at GIO Stadium. So it will be a 9:35 p.m. kickoff either on Saturday or Friday night. Billy Slater needs to change his Queensland Maroons. Says Aloy. Yeah, they didn't quite get the match up that they would have liked. Little pick and go around the side of the breakdown there. Moana Pasifika, I should say. Alan Craig. Replacement lock tackled hard by Proct. A bit of a counter-up coming from the Canes. Again, they're trying at every breakdown to get that ball back. So if the Canes versus Brumbies, does that mean that they have to travel because Brumbies sit high? Correct, yes. So, yeah, Hurricanes, even though they only just got back from when was they, that's not words, we'll try again. When were they last in Australia was what I was just about to search. I don't think it was that long ago, was it? Yeah, they were there on the 23rd of May. So they've come back to New Zealand for this game. Then they have to head back over there. So, yeah, and then they might have to head back to New Zealand for their game after. So they've probably got the worst draw in terms of travel for these playoff games. Bonus for the Hurricanes, please, says Benina. A man of the match, sir. Oh, it's an ugly kick from Garden Basher, but it's effective. About 7 metres out from the line now. Moana have got themselves the line out. Yeah, man of the match for me, Hurricanes-wise. I mean, Peter Umaga-Jensen's looked very strong. Peter Lakai had a solid game. I'd probably give it to Umaga-Jensen just because he has returned from a big injury, although Devon Flanders also returning from his injury and doing very well. So a bit of a tricky one, I would say. Rugby's in Canberra in a playoff game, sold-out crowd won't be easy, says a Sporting Kiwi. I think All Blacks are going to get Ruben Love to play fly half. Probably not. I think that they'll end up going with Barrett and McKenzie and then have Love as a bit of a kind of versatile 10 or 15. That's close. For Moana, the rolling maul works. And it's Hardy Savia who scores his second try of the contest. No, sorry, he didn't score the first. He scores another try for the season, though. Oh, it's Tupo Tailo who got the first, but 7 tries now for Savia throughout the year. Good try, says Seller. And damn, Canes might lose just because the Brumbies might be hungry after their home loss to the Satyrs. And a pineapple ring is often satisfying also. I've eaten a few pineapples in my time, but I've never had a pineapple ring. Even though it's like a pretty common thing to have from like a fish and chip shop. But like, I have to try it at some stage. I feel like in comparison to a meat patty, they're both high praised, aren't they? And let's go the Blues all the way. Says Aloy, but chance here for Jackson Garden Bishop. And, ooh, a little bit of a late curl there. I don't think he was anticipating that one, so it does miss, and the score is now 42 points to 12. Okay, yellow card will also remain a yellow card here for Abraham Pule. Can't keep an awesome maybe 7 down. Says Shane. Yeah, going to remain a yellow card here for the shot from Abraham Pule on Zach Gallagher by a can. Says Jason, and Mansavia is too good. Says the What's Up Guys podcast. Yeah, he's certainly done his part in this game. Unfortunately, his teammates haven't really been able to step up in the same way. Oh, bit of a fumble there from Tavita Offa, went backwards. So now Samisi Tupo Tailoa can run it forward. They also played Ruben Love on the wing for the ABs last year. Razor is insistent on players playing 3 or 4 positions, according to Justin Marshall. Says a Sporting Kiwi, so that will benefit Love quite a bit too, you would think. Now Tavita Offa having to clear it from only 10 metres out from his line. How many tries do the Canes need to score a bonus point? They need 3 or more than their opposition. So currently we have seen 2 tries from Moana Pasifika, and for the Hurricanes they have scored themselves 6. So Moana would still need 2 more tries in the last 14 minutes to then make it that the Reds need a bonus point win and a massive points differential. Good quick hands going on the outside. TJ Clark managing to link up well with Proctor, who slips over near the sideline, but he's back up to his feet. Offloads one more. Raymond Tupu couldn't get it into their hands. Oh, referee's been tackled. Now, flicking it across. Iritara Inari. Low tackle on camera now. Pauri Rekati Stones. He's going to go himself, the big man, and he gets over for the try. Okay, they're just hitting top gear, but I think they might just check for a knock on there from the Canes number 19, Will Tucker, I think it was. And Canes are just hitting top gear. And Morehouse says Jason, and did he train at home before the game started? Says, What's Up Guys podcast, and the ref got tackled. He certainly did. Wrong place, wrong time for Angus Gardner. Took it like a chant though, got straight back up to his feet, went back to the other side of the field. Who's your least favourite All Black? Me, none of them. They are my least favourites. Says the Red Warrior. Great pass, though, from Iritara Inari, and then just shifting it out wide. Pauri Rekati Stones thought about the wide pass. Devon Flanders, to be fair, he wouldn't have made it to the try line. He got a real bad cramp just before. And, yeah, I don't think Pauri Rekati Stones was ever passing that ball, but if he was, I think Flanders would have pulled up lane. And hopefully he hasn't actually injured himself here, only just coming back from an ankle injury Looked like it was just a bit of cramp that he was dealing with. Some wide margins tonight, says Mr. All In. Yeah, the side two are trying to get in that top 6 have certainly been stepping up, making that statement and showing why they are in that top 6. But the kick has missed, now sitting 7 tries to the 2, which does mean Moana Pasifika would need 4 in a row. Angus Gardner tackled by Billy Proctor. One of the biggest tackles Proctor's actually done this game. And about time the refs take some payback, says Jason. Every player well, says the Red Warrior. And for a moment there was a ref. The ref was in a tumble dryer, says Salah. Eritara Eneri back across now to Brad Shields. He's made his way on. Actually not for Devon Flanders. That's a bit of a surprise, as Flanders really looked like he was struggling. But they've decided he can continue. Probably got the pickle juice out. That wording sounded a bit dodgy. But now, Will Tucker. Going to be tackled by Pipisana Patafilo across to Pasilio Tosi. And damn, the Hurricanes are playing so well. Says the What's Up Guys podcast. They can roll back now. Eritara Eneri with another box kick opportunity here for the Canes. Not going too deep with this, but TJ Clark chasing after a steep bounce of the ball. In fact, it was Hone Rova this time who went up for it. And the turnover is good from Moana Pasifika and a knock on from Will Tucker. Big Finn coming in from Samesi Tupo Taialoa. Offloaded up now to Jonathan Tamatine. Offload to Savia. How much time left? Still 10.5 minutes remaining. Pipisana Patafilo going back across to the left-hand side. Skip pass from Jackson Garden. Bishop tried to chip him behind from Solomon. Aloi Marlowe, and it's gone into touch from Ruben Love after he claimed it. So it was a knock on from Canes 19. I thought so. And then he knocked it on again later on, which is when we were saying about his knock on there, an interception. So here's What's Up Guys podcast. Is there any benefits for a retired rugby player? I think there's some, depending on who you are and kind of what you've done, because of course you still get those kind of sponsored deals to a certain extent. You watch rugby league a little bit, not anywhere near as much as I would have liked to this year. Chris Apua making his way back out onto the field. That is for Feliti Saitau Ufuau. Has made his way off. And time for Pizza Hurricanes, says Benina. Thrown over the top, Raymond Tupu claiming that one. Offloads to Pasilio Tosi. Now, Eritana Eneri popping it up to Duplessis Karifi, who will get only about 10 metres out from the try line. In fact, maybe closer to 15. Brad Shields now gets it to 10. Eritara Eneri, I should say, goes off to the try squad of Pauridekati Stones. That's going to be another penalty advantage going against Moana Pasifika here. Paurirua is very quiet, but now there's music everywhere. Says Panina, and Canes look single-minded. Underlaid, Law, little sell of the dummy from Cameron. Tries the offload. Garden Basher booted it away, but picked up by Proctor. Still under penalty advantage and still within the 22. Proctor steps and scores. Had to in this match after what we saw from the Blues. He decided, don't forget about me, I'm still in the running. And the Hurricanes scored again. My neighbour are quiet now since they're supporting Moana. Says my boy, and come on the Canes, says Hannah. And there as well, but Brett Cameron almost managed to get through the gap, and then Garden Bishop just not quite getting the boot on it that he needed, and Billy Proctor finishing it off. And we have got come on the Canes. I don't think New Zealand team to miss the playoffs, says Highlanders fan. And there. And also, thank you, Lord. Says Shane it up the Blues, says FS. Is that FS as in Farming Simulator Gaming? George will probably like your channel. The Blues going back to back. It's too easy to make meters against the defence for the Canes. Says Salah and bring on the Canes pizza, fellas. Now Ruben Love lining up this kick just with the 8 minutes remaining on the clock now, but it does seem cemented. Oh, he shanked that one too for Ruben Love. He's not happy. The tries never get old. They make me laugh, says the What's Up Guys podcast. Some decent support and attendance, and who came on for Larkai would have been Brad Shields, as Karifi and Flanders still both out there on the park. Pipisana Patafilo made that tackle on Proctor with a smile on his face. I think he's also he's a Lions fella anyway. So he spent a little bit of time with Billy Proctor. Now Hone Rova. Down the middle of the field, well taken by Moana Pasifika just outside of their 40-metre line now. Solomon Alaimalo up to the halfway line. Definitely hasn't had as much impact throughout the second 40 minutes. Now, short ball to the Hurricanes. They have got the possession back. Hone Rova over the top of Pasilio Tosi. Leaves it home for Raymond Tupu. Bit of a fumble with the ball for Brad Shields, but now straightens with his run. Goes straight at Savia. And the Canes says keep cook. And come on, Moana, just 6 tries needed. That's winning as hell and welling, guys. Come on, Ruben. Ain't that bad. Says Defy. About 27 kilometres a wind, I think it was, for this contest. That's going to be kicked in behind. Plus, like, at the start of the game, to Ruben Love's credit, he was 6 from 6, wasn't he? And yeah, just the last 2 kicks seem to have kind of gone away. Maybe it's just the angle that he's trying to kick it at. Now, another line out here for Moana Pasifika. They are 5 metres out from their own line. I still think Moana Pasifika will get a bonus point win. Do you? In 7 minutes. That's going to be stolen by the Hurricanes yet again. They have taken the possession back. Brad Shields trying to find his way through. Tackled low by Moana. Duplessis. Krefi tries to bump off Chrisapua. In there, Savia told to get out of it. Eritana Inari going off to Basilio Tosi. Good body position, but couldn't quite get the lead drive going as well. Now Raymond Tupu. That was close to offside for Moana. Now Eritana Inari sneaks through, scores another, and the Canes go up to 57. And that's all Hurricanes do, just score. A Warriors game you're watching, see there's the Red Warrior. When are they playing? Have they already started? Tomorrow at 4 p.m. I will probably end up watching that game. I should be awake at that stage. And do your silence in the crowd and hear my neighbours next door yelling at Moana game. Says Mr. Boy in try time. Says Red 7. Yeah, really well done from Eritana Inari. Just gets that step going, stretches out, and finishes it off. Come on, Moana, bring out the rubbish bin and jump inside instead of drumming it. Says Jason. Yeah, they will finish 7th in the overall standings, which I feel is still a massive accomplishment for this Moana Pasifika side. They've had some brilliant wins, 4 wins over New Zealand sides. That kick from Ruben Love this time has snuck over, and that'll make the score 59 points to 12. He's hurt his hamstring, or his groin, I think that actually was. In the process there, the last thing that he wants is to have an injury going into the next game. He's waving. I think he wants replaced. Or was he waving to a teammate? Looks like he's going to continue, but he's grabbing at that groin. It's the type of player that the Hurricanes certainly will not want to lose. Set there, accidental. They are going to be playing the scrum here. Yeah, Ruben Love just doing a few groinal stretches. And Abies are looking dangerous for the picking. I hope our combination transition over well, but season looking exciting. Says Mr. All-In, whoever played for Moana, carrying my last name. Should be a shame. Says Malo, so that is Summer Malolo, I believe. But he's not playing in this match. Missing from this one, they have got Sana Revi and Sam Molly. However, the Moana lost by 40, says Aloy. At least. They've still got time. 47 points down at the moment. And still another 4 minutes left for the Hurricanes to try and get an attack going once more. It has popped out the back of the scrum. Big push there. Eritana Inari goes across to Hone Rova. Now ball on the inside. Eritana Inari through the gap again. We've got to remember this is his ex-side too. Bounce pass to TJ Clark. Running straight at Pipisana Pata. Filo gets wrestled towards the sideline. Did you see that they have announced times? Says Kiwi Rob, have they? I assume that's because of it being like confirmed in terms of who's going where. So what are the times, Kiwi Rob? Do let me know, as I have not seen them just yet. Now, knock on against the Canes. Moana will have themselves another scrum. They're considering the draw. I probably expect to do better. Moana are tracking okay in the long term on the broadcast, says Kiwi Rob. Oh, yep, there we go. Qualifying final is 9:30 on Saturday night. is when that one has been confirmed for. So that was more of the question of whether it would be a Saturday or a Saturday or a Friday night. And Brock to one more. Have they announced when the Blues and Chiefs are playing? Are they the Friday night fixture or are they the Saturday night fixture? Great call into the game, Hamish. Says, Matthew, thank you very much. We have still got 3 more matches that are going to be taking place later on. We've got our next game in about 2.5 hours' time. And Saturday night. Okay, so Chiefs Blues is Saturday night. Same with Hurricanes, Brumbies, and then Friday night fixture would be Reds versus Crusaders. Is that correct? And come on the Blues, says King Zion. And that's now another penalty going the way of the Hurricanes. They've just looked on another level throughout this match. The New Zealand team showing you you need to save your best rugby for the business end of the season. Correct, says Kiwi Rob. And Artie is regretting the move about now. I doubt it. I think that Artie Savia, from what he's accomplished this year alongside this Moana Pasifika side, I think if you asked him now, would you take it back, he would say absolutely not. He has changed this Moana Pasifika side's mindset. He's led them from the front, and I wouldn't be surprised if he signs a little bit of a contract extension for them in the near future too, because it just seems like he's having an absolute ball while playing for them. That ear of Karefi is ugly. It looks like he's put it through a blender and turned it on. Now, currently sitting with 1 minute remaining. How does Moana stand on the table now? They will be 7th, and then the Blues are 6th. So the top 6 will be confirmed. All of the the playoff finals will be confirmed too. Wellington is very quiet but cold. The weather is very good, no wind at all, says Panina. Now it's going to be the penalty advantage for the Hurricanes, who look to get another rolling maul going. Trying to make a real statement here. Nice spin from Raymond Tupu Tupu. And Artie is his own franchise, says Shane. Now Devon Flanders, Eritara Inari. I think that's a new penalty advantage again. Hone Rova has knocked the ball on. The Hurricanes improved the most during the season, says NZ and Riot. Yeah, they're certainly peaking at the right time. A lot of these sides are. The Blues, the Hurricanes, the Chiefs have been looking pretty good all throughout the season, but the last few weeks have been particularly strong. Now, Eritara Inari, it looks like they are just going to go for that quick tap here. Game over for me. 5 seconds remaining for myself. Now, Pasilio Tosi. Going back across to the side. Oh, couldn't quite reach out there for Hugo Plummer. Now, Hone Rova shovels it on. Brett Cameron out wide for TJ Clark on debut. He scores the try for the Canes, which will bring them into the 60s. And that has been a pretty dominant performance. We got to remember, Moana scored the first try of this contest, but only one other coming for them. I'll see you at the next game, says Paul. So yeah, that next game we are starting in 2 hours, 20 minutes time. And that is going to be the contest taking place between the Bulls and Edinburgh in the URC quarterfinals. After that, we have Leinster versus Scarlets in the quarterfinals too. And then following that, Sharks versus Munster. However, the Highlanders Moana to swap position on the table next year, says Jason. What a domination, says King. And so proud of Moana Pasifika, how far they've come. Yeah, exactly right. Like, yes, their last 2 games are definitely ones that they will want to forget. But the fact that they were even in the running to have an opportunity at that top 6, the fact that they have beaten 4 New Zealand sides this year, the only side they weren't able to get a victory over were the Chiefs. And it just seems like, they've found some really good things. I think that William Havili, him being back for them next season, is definitely going to hurt them. And this is definitely embarrassing for Moana, close to be score when Moana against the Chiefs, says Mr. Boy. And also we have got their Kiwi teams always play best near the end. And see you for the boring Bulls game later, says Christopher DeVette. So yeah, we will be seeing you, of course, on those URC streams. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you all for the next one.